What's up, traders? I am Vincent Mokoteli from VinnBoss Signal Factory. This is not a financial advice. It's powerful education for those ready to level up. With the right mindset and real strategy, success is within your reach. Welcome to VinnBoss Signal Factory, where signals meet success. So traders, with the euro and the dollar, what do I expect? We firstly have to check what happened yesterday. We did have a buy setup right above here, expecting this demand zone to hold for us, and what it did hold, but we had the liquidity sweep. Some people will call it a stop hunt, whatever it is that you believe it is, but for me, I think this was a liquidity sweep, wiping down the stops before continuing to the upside, which is why after the invalidation we did have a re-entry, and then after the re-entry we were still in. After this bounce, this strong bounce to the upside, we did put break even right here. We moved our stop to the buying price, and then until then we have been in the market. Now, what do I expect to see from today? If this comes down, breaks our break even, of course, and then comes to this level, this would look like a buying opportunity to the upside. It will be a fantastic place for us to look for buying opportunities and look for bullish patterns and formations to confirm the buy setup like we did here. This was a setup that confirms the buy. Liquidity sweep came in, a bullish engulfing came in again, and we still went in with the bullish engulfing. So without wasting much of our time, this is what I do expect. But if it does not come to that, it can come to this, and then boom, and then continues to make the new high at 1.1726. This is a fantastic setup. Also going into this week with the euro and the dollar. The overall bias on this pair, I'm still biased to the upside. I'm not bearish at all, but I would be bearish only if we do break the weekly break of structure, of course, a retest of the weekly break of structure and a continuation to the downside. In this scenario, we will make 1:3. And remember, traders, we did mention that today we will not be analyzing all the pairs, as we have already taken profit on the pound and the Canadian dollar, the euro and the Canadian dollar, and the euro and the pound. The only currency pairs that we are going to deal with today is euro dollar, pound dollar, and US dollar, Canadian dollar. So without wasting much time, this is what I do expect. This is what I see. If we are going to take that 1:3 trade, we have to break below this weekly break of structure, and then a continuation to the downside will be imminent for us. So without wasting much of our time, traders, let's go straight to the pound and the dollar. And traders, with the pound and the dollar, what do I expect? Yesterday we did mention that this has broken the weekly break of structure, of course, and if it does come back around here, it looks like it might continue to the downside. If you are paying close attention to what we were signaling yesterday, you will realize that I did mention that I'm not going to sell this. It is a bit uncertain at this point, but what I can do is go with the bias of the DXY or the dollar index. Now, with the dollar index facing much pressure to the downside, this is still a buying opportunity. So if we do come back to retest this weekly break of structure as support again, buying opportunities will arise to make out or to reach our last week's high at 1.3530. This would be a fantastic setup, of course, with the pound and the dollar. This is what I do expect. But someone or some of the scenario, if it does not happen that the dollar continues the decline but it gets stronger, this would be a fantastic setup to look for. If you are a seller into this because of the break of structure again, then 1:3 is most imminent into this setup. This would be a fantastic setup, but I'm not selling it because of only the one reason that I'm not selling this is because of the DXY. Now the DXY for now, for me, is still structured to the downside. even though the pound has been the weakest currency we've seen, as we discussed yesterday in the video, that the pound is weak, which led to the euro and the pound hitting our target profit with the buying opportunities that we take there, which led to the pound and the Canadian taking our profit with the sell opportunities that we did take on that currency pair. So with that being said, we are only left with pound dollar, euro dollar, and US dollar, Canadian dollar on the free YouTube watch list. And with that being said, this means that the DXY is still structured to the downside. With it being structured to the downside, that is why I'm not going aggressively on selling this currency pair, even though the structure might look like it is done with buying opportunities. Rather, if the continuation of selling opportunities come, this is still a great place to look for buying opportunities, to look for that 1.3530 of last week's new high as the target profit, or even make this new high at 1.3560. This would be a fantastic setup to look for as your target area. So without wasting much time, I think I've discussed thoroughly what the pound and the dollar is structured, why I still don't believe in sales, and why I would definitely be looking for buying opportunities. If this is one of the pairs that you want to trade, this is the opportunity that you should be looking for rather. So last but not least, traders, let's go straight to the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. And yes, traders, we just got invalidated with the US dollar, Canadian dollar. So let me jump straight to analyzing what happened and what to expect. Yesterday we did mention we got into this trade on Tuesday. It was on Tuesday when we got into this trade and came out, almost knocked that out, and then come back, and then now it did knock us out right now. I think, or rather, what the reason behind this is, it is about to test the second supply zone. So the first invalidation that we did have, it was stuck from Tuesday to today, which is Thursday. And with that being said, what do I expect? After this retest, I will be looking for shorting opportunities, of course, to make that to the downside of the risk reward ratio of 1.4.88. This is what we'll be risking on this trade. Why do I not quit this setup or this trade as we speak? Because structure wise or structurally, we are still structured to the downside, and it is favoring more shorts than buying opportunities. So with that being said, I will only be looking for buying opportunities if we break the weekly break of structure, of course. And with that being said, if we do break the weekly break of structure, this would mean for us that after breaking this weekly break of structure, we will be looking for a pullback and a continuation to the upside. What I do think the market will do, rather, if we do not, of course, tomorrow is the NFP, the big market moves are to be expected. So what do I think will happen? What I think would happen is, after reaching this supply zone, of course, maybe going through it a little bit, this would also be a fantastic place so that the market can just wait for the news release of the NFP tomorrow afternoon. I will be live with everyone else, both the free and the real account traders community. Will be live on YouTube to understand how to trade this live with everyone, so that you can see how these NFTs or how these fundamental news releases are traded and what to expect. So that I will also be reading out what I do expect before the market, before the news release. I will also be reading out what could possibly happen even after the NFT has been released, or the possibilities before the printing comes out. If this happens and that happens, you already know how we do it with the real account traders community. So please don't be late tomorrow, make sure that you are here. During that time, we'll be live on YouTube. So without wasting much of our time, of course, I still do think this will be yesterday's, tomorrow's market price, not going anywhere up until the NFP. And then on the NFP, if the dollar do prints lower than expected readings, of course, we will see strong movements to the downside, which will signal, number one, a weaker dollar because of the NFP. Number two, it will have to be the rate expectation cuts of the US dollar, which will, if the US dollar prints negative printing on NFP and the rate expectations is still weighing much on the dollar, this would be a fantastic drop going into next week, of course. So without wasting much of our time, this is what we analyze, this is what we do expect. Remember, I'm the only trader that trades live without hiding losses and accepting what it is that we are doing in trading. I'm trying to show it, like people who are not already in trading, to understand the psychology, the mentality of traders without obsessing too much about trading and not understanding risk management. Of course, we do try to do it live every single day of the week so that you can understand that how professionals react to losing opportunities, how professionals react to a choppy market or a consolidation in the market without clear direction, and how they do react to winning opportunities, which, like we have already discussed, with the euro and the Canadian dollar, the pound and the Canadian dollar, the euro and the pound right now. We do not have to be greedy again and look for new opportunities and try to make sure that we get every single piece out of there. It will be disastrous for us, because we get to a place or to a space of mind where you have won and you lose everything that you've won in the market. It's not safe. You understand? It's not good. So with that being said, traders, this is it for me for today's daily analysis. Thanks and happy trading, traders.